Well, morning everyone, welcome to Motorhoming Adventures. It's stereo time.
It is. It's time to remove the one that we inherited when we bought the van. Hasn't been the best, has it?
No, in fact, as we talk to you here from fabulous West Wales, the sat-nav still reckons we're in that beautiful place in Arcachon, west of Bordeaux, in France. So that seized up. The radio was, what would we describe it as? Underwear garment, pants, I think is probably the best description.
Or unfortunate. Being polite.
It wasn't that good. So anyway, I think I found one online, which I'll show you in a sec, and mainly wanted a CarPlay facility. Since the sat-nav froze, we obviously, as some of you will know, we took on Xzent Truck, which has been absolutely great, fingers crossed. So CarPlay will allow Xzent Truck to be on the main screen. All we need now is the stereo to be able to display it, and then some decent speakers to be able to probably listen to the radio a bit more.
Yes, exactly.
When we're on the move, the odd podcast or two, as you do when you're on the road. So, without further ado, it's tinkering time. Off to the van to go and start digging in to the excitement that sits behind the Xzent radio. Where is Xzent made, incidentally? Xzent.
I don't know, we'd have to look it up.
Absolutely no idea.
There'll be spaghetti.
Yeah, there will be, I'm sure, behind the radio. But, you know, it's got to try it once at least, haven't you? So let's go do it. And here is the current one. Xzent, Xzent, never heard of it. Don't know whether it's fitted actually by Fiat or whether it's a mobile Veta fit, but okay, so first things first, the actual, this smaller piece, which is sort of the surround round the edge within the actual fascia plate, that just pops off. It's held in, you can just see the it's just held in by those little lugs, so you can just sort of lever one side up with a fine screwdriver under there just to ease this back. It doesn't take much to pop it out. So after taking off the fascia, you're left with the radio in there. I've just pulled off that little knob to get that out of the way, and in the new box for the new stereo, they have left in these two, which actually are the right ones for getting out the Xzent radio. So let's just pull this out a bit further. So that was the tools that they supplied. There we go. There's the shape of it. There's the sides and the shape. They go down the sort of fairly centrally, about there, with obviously the bit my fingers are on pointing away from the radio, and they slide in down there, because where you're trying to get to is you're trying to just nip it into these bits here, because that is what's clipped into then the frame. So if we sort of recreate what's happening down the side, that's sliding down there, and then there's a clip there that as you slide it past here, it obviously pops that clip out that's part of the chassis, if you like, behind here, and that allows you then, and you can actually hear a fairly firm click, which is probably, see there's a couple of little lugs on there, and I think they locate just here and or here while you push it in. So when I finally got it in the right place, you had to do a sort of little bit of wiggling around, and then I actually felt it click in. So it's you'll know when you've got it. And of course, when you start to pull backwards using the tabs, obviously, then you'll find that those little lugs are just enough to then obviously pull the radio back out. So it's a little bit fiddly, but they do work. This one over this side obviously fits in the other way around with the tab facing outwards, and out it comes. And you're left with all the spaghetti behind, which hopefully we're going to find a way. And there you see, there's the receiving piece, just just about seeing there. That's where you're sliding in those two little keys. He says in inverted commas, these things, sliding it in, it would be going in that way round. So that's what you're aiming for to get your stereo released. This one, as I say, being an Xzent X427 was the model that was supplied with the Fiat Ducato 2021 base vehicle when we bought this motorhome. That was probably the easy bit. Now, being a non-motor electrical person, now probably comes the hard bit where we got to try and have a look at what's going on behind there, and if it looks too difficult, then I know I can always whip down the road to Halfords or something. But Halfords quoted, in terms of a full fit, they quoted about 175 quid to fit this. So I thought, well, I've got to have a look first. Got to have a look to see if we can, with the wonders of YouTube and a bit of instruction manual and a bit of God knows what, we might be able to actually work out how it all goes together. I just hope we don't ignite the van or something. But and you can see just back there, you can see those clips in there that were the ones that were holding those hold it in place, that you had to locate those keys with. Okay, next phase. So the first plug, the tightest one, was this one, which slotted in there, and that slot is marked radio. So there's no pull on that at all, so that was sort of holding everything. So now that I've released that one, then I've got a bit more play on the whole unit, so I can get it out and start to have a look at these other ones. You can see there we've got a DAB, that's obviously the aerial. Then we've got a mic in there, this little black one says mic, so that could be the hands-free perhaps. Then there's a GP, the next one, this little gold top one says GPS, so judging by the quality of the Xzent sat-nav, then that one wasn't working very well. It's got an HDMI port there, which is unused, and then it's got the rest of the main power loom there coming in. So we've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, so basically 5 wires, and then we've got this one here which is not labelled, and we've got a stack of little unused wires as well. So let's have a quick look. Oh yes, we've got these USB ones. Those USB ones trace back to this little pocket here, which is not a fire extinguisher, but in there you remember that those of you who've got this vehicle, you remember you get these 2 random leads in your top glove box, and they're used for software updates. So in fact, when we first got the van, I actually did successfully manage to do a software update via that lead to the radio, but then obviously through time and through the last couple of years I've been using the sat-nav, hasn't been great, the radio hasn't been great. The sat-nav then seized, and still when I switch it on in beautiful Tenby here, tells me I'm in Arcachon in France, which some of you remember was one of our stops on one of our European adventures. And so yes, it's generally not been great, which is why I've chosen to look for an alternative, and of course look for an alternative with CarPlay, which this Xzent one doesn't have either. So with CarPlay I'm hoping I'll be able to then put my Civic truck onto the screen of the new one. Anyway, enough of that. So those are the 2 USBs that go into the top of the upper glove box. So I would think perhaps the challenging stuff might be just to make sure, or to compare with the new one, whether we've got similar slots, and see if it's going to be as easy as one to the other. I suspect I wouldn't need USB ports for updating the new one, because it might perhaps have Bluetooth updates available. But anyway, we'll get the other one out of the box now. We'll unbox it, have a look at the back of it, and show you what we've got to replace it. Right, that's the stereo loosened at the front there, and now let's get this new one unboxed. So wires and more wires. We've got Oh yeah, we've got more of those USB connectors. That's probably a bit like the ones that we took out, or that I showed you in the upper glove box there. DAB aerial perhaps. Gosh, got more wires. You can shake a stick at. Oh, we've got another hands-free mic. We've got rear view camera in. We've got steering wheel control. We've got mute. So we've got a few labelled up there, which is handy, as we had with these incidentally. The first bag I took out, we had subwoofer out, rear monitor out, front out, front left, front right. Yeah, so they're all pretty well marked. Oh, and that one, parking brake, there's one marked as parking brake there. We've got an aux in there. We've got a little bag of screws. We're almost there. We've got some little cable tidies by the looks of it, yeah, with a little 3M plastic sticky back on them for tidying the cable. And then we've got another fascia plate that looks very similar to the one that came off, so that's fine. And of course the all-important instructions. Some more instructions there on the radio itself and its functionality there. And then last but by no means least, we've got the radio itself. Well padded, keep the polystyrene just in case. There we go. So that's a look at the back of it. Looks like that was our mains power in, and we've got some of the similar. We've got the DAB button, we've got the radio one, that first one I took out that was tight. We've got, what's that? Oh yeah, we've got a GPS one, so that's good. We've got the mic one, which we had in the other one. So what's that one? That looks like that's a USB connector. So a lot of it looks fairly similar. There's the front, as you'd expect, just a blank screen, not much very exciting to look at there. Right, okay, let's start comparing then and see and get on the instructions and see whether it's something that I can take on myself, or whether I'm going to have to shout help. So this one, just as a reminder, this one is the Pioneer SPH-DA360DAB radio with CarPlay, and a good old, well, available at a stack of places, including where I got it from, which was Halfords. Right, so the next thing I've taken out is this. That's the top box that goes in there. It's just got three or four little Torx screws like that, which pop into these one, and then there's one in the base of the unit as well, two in the base of the unit just there and over the other side. So take that out, and because that's where these USB cables were for the original ones that you remember I mentioned we did some software updates from a USB stick and stuff when we first got the van for the Xzent, and they go, you can see they disappear down here, and that goes obviously straight. You can see it as I pull them, you can see it waggling the other side, so it's a fairly easy route for the wiring to go. So we could take the old ones out, which was these two, and then we'll feed in the new one, which was that single one, which is over here. And that will then put it in a similar sort of position. And I might also take the DAB aerial out that way as well. Now, there was a DAB aerial, as you remember, that we took off the Xzent. Sorry, GPS, which we took off the Xzent. That was that GPS. It doesn't fit. It's a different fitting to the one on the new one. typical, I guess. And I don't actually know where the GPS module is. It might be tucked away in there. It's certainly not stuck anywhere on the dash. So what I'm probably going to do is fit obviously the new one came with a GPS module. Here it is. There's that different style plug. If we put them both together, you'll see the difference. There we go. Very different plugs. So I'll probably wire in this one because obviously it's newer technology, and therefore hopefully will be perhaps even more efficient. They supply it with a little sticky pad, and from what I can gather, they can be mounted perfectly reasonably up on the front dashboard, sort of in full view of the sky above, so they get a good signal. So I might take the wiring for that while I'm at it back through here, and then sort of get it under here, or take it out round the back there somewhere just to tuck it out of the way, so I can then mount this horizontally with its sticky pad on the dash somewhere. So that's the GPS. The aerial, that was the DAB aerial that was into the old Xzent. We know that the reception we used to get on our DAB wasn't good at all, so I'm actually just going to tape that up, stuff it in the back there, and leave that and put in a new one. The DAB aerial, I think, was, I've read a couple of different places. One was it's up in the mirror somewhere, in the external mirror. The wiring is going out the back, off out to what could be, of course, the pillar and the mirror. So what I've chosen to do is I've actually got a screen mounted aerial, a new one, which is windscreen mounted, which I can see it. I'll show it to you. There we go. So it's this one. It's just a basic stick to the window job, and the reason why I've done that is because it's A-class and it's got the massive windscreen, and it's obviously just the original Ducato chassis, not the cab. It means that the mobile Veta fit that build the motorhome up from the chassis, the Fiat Ducato chassis, they've put in the screen, the steel channel for the screens and other things on that pillar. If it was a coach built, then it would still be the original Ducato, and therefore that's just a pop-off windscreen pillar, which just comes off, and you can hide away wiring, and you can then stick on a new FM aerial to the windscreen with the tail of the FM attaching itself to the metal surround of that pillar. But of course, this being the A-class, they've put all this clutter in the way. It's screwed in. Getting to that pillar, I know, is a challenge, and therefore I've chosen to get an option which allows you just to stick this onto the inside of the window. I'll put it somewhere, find somewhere up there for it, a place where I can route the cabling. So again, I'll probably also potentially bring that cabling in this way somewhere and then out the back. So that's the plan anyway, the first part of the plan. And the other final bit was, that is the jack plug for the other end of the little hands-free microphone there, which was on the original Xzent, and just to, obviously everything comes in threes, doesn't it? So of course that one doesn't fit either. That is too big for the new fit, and therefore we're going to pop in this one that came with the radio, probably a better mic anyway. And you have the option of this one as well, once we've lost the cabling somewhere around the back. Got the option of either this one clipping onto the sun visor, or you can press this little catch down here, and it allows, if I just slide that out, there we go, and you can see it just allows you to slide out the holder that clips on, and you can then use this in a similar way to adhere it to the top there. So I might follow a very similar route if I can work out how to get the wiring, or how they've got the wiring down in through there. Probably just a bit of jiggery pokery. So anyway, that's the broad plan, and then of course we've got to work out this spaghetti. It's all a voyage of exploration, isn't it? Exploration and learning. And of course, before all of that, we've just got to pop out. You see they've got a screw in each side there. just got to pop out those screws, take out this cage, because obviously the new one has got its cage on, you see there. So that one I'll look to fit in place of the existing one. Right, gosh, what a lot of jobs to do. Here we go. Right, so that's popped out the 2 screws that were holding the frame in. Just levered these back again because they'd been pushed in to help hold it, and that should have loosened that up. That's grand. Well, let's have an update. So the update is I'm going to swap the speakers around because I'm pretty sure this side was a bit conked anyway. So I've whipped that one out. Obviously they're just 4 speakers, they're all pretty bargain basement stuff, I'm sure, so I don't want anything fancy to replace them, just something that was slightly better. So I'm going to drop in some new speakers, and look at the state of this. Carnage, wires everywhere. Old stuff, bits of van, bits of tools, you name it, it's everywhere. It's definitely carnage in the van, but we're getting there. So what I've done is I actually routed all the wire, or sort of started to route it. I'm going to take it out, as we talked about earlier, out through that glove box bit where I've taken the holder out. And then what I actually did, I've set the new harness up, popped in the inline fuse, joined a couple of other wires that they had also done, so, and basically gave it a dry run and a test to see if I was in the right direction. There's the new one, and absolutely to my amazement it worked. So none more surprised than me, not being a vehicle electrician. So it actually worked. So I had all the bits and pieces plugged in at the back here, fired it up, and it connected my phone and everything straight away. So now all that happens, I'm waiting for a bit of heat shrink wrap to come to finish off a couple of the wires, and then I've got to put the cage in, got to fit this microphone, got to tidy up the wire, got to fit that aerial to the windscreen, fit the GPS module somewhere along the dash there. So yeah, generally today, while I'm waiting for those dead cheap speakers to come, it's start to tidy up the wiring, see if I can get it into some of these sides of the windscreen and things like that. And generally start to pretty it up and tidy up some of the exterior wiring to get rid of all that. By the time I've done all that, I expect some of my shrink wrappers come for the wiring, and I think the extra speakers are due tomorrow. All that's a sort of separate job, just to pop those out. And then I made sure I got the identical fit, absolutely identical fit, in terms of the diameter, because I didn't want to have to start cutting it apart. But they certainly, having taken it out, certainly leave you enough wire in there, all tucked away in there, and a few other bits which I might investigate while it's open to see what else is hiding away in there for future reference. So yeah, that's where we're at. So back to tidying, and let's get a few of these wires sorted. Right, so that's it all put back together again. I've heat shrunk the wires, those connections, new connections we did. This is the little surround. It's this inner one here that was the one that you remember just pops off. You can just sort of get behind it and lever it with something soft that doesn't mark the existing surround there. We've put the new GPS that they supplied with it. I've just routed it down to there. I've run the cabling, comes up in the corner there and up the side there, and I've put the new that's the new DAB aerial up in the corner there. Reconnected the isolator switch, so on your dashboard we've got one of these switches which allows, when the ignition is off, which it is now, to you to then switch on the radio via that isolator switch. In fact, you see it coming on there now. And the other thing I did, in the Pioneer radio itself, it's got an option for when you engage reverse gear. It's obviously got an ability to have a camera feed on it, but let's just go back to the home screen. There we go. It's got an option to disable the camera, because obviously we've since, as you if you popped and saw that film when we made our visit to Max UK, who did a power upgrade and put in some twin reversing cameras on the van. If not, then do check out the channel for that. That was a good fun upgrade. But now the reversing camera obviously comes up on there independently of the stereo. You can see it picks up Android or Apple CarPlay now, which is great. And that's what was missing. I've replaced the speakers like for like. Exactly the same, two at the front, two up up towards the rear at the back. They're through the back here, up there, both sides. So that was just a straight, as I said, was just a straight unplug one. Got exactly the same size ordered, and put in the new ones. And so let's just give it a demo, and you can hear what it's like. So we're going to DAB radio. So that's digital radio.
Like a lot of people, it's very, people are allowed
much better reception.
Well, and the lovely thing, a roller boot or a roller blade, it really elongates the legs.
So that's that. And then
yeah, honestly, like when I'm stood next to people with their skates on, when mine aren't on, it's the height difference is ridiculous.
Do you know what? I loved both your.
And then if we go into radio 1, for example. So it's all working absolutely fine, which is brilliant. Connected with the phone, no problem at all, and we're all up and running. So as we saw earlier in the film, when you initially take out the old Xzent, there is a hell of a scramble behind there, but when you look a bit closer, a lot of the wiring looms on the, match the new stuff, and it's just a matter of going through methodically, identifying which is doing which, seeing as we did if any of them need reconnecting, and recovering obviously with the heat shrink. Did all those connections, obviously tested it before we went anywhere near putting it back together, which as I said earlier, incredibly it all worked fine. And then just that bit of tidying up, fascia plate back on, wiring sort of routed in various ways, tucked away as best I could, and it's certainly made a massive difference. And obviously mainly picks up my Civic truck car on CarPlay as well, which has got all the dimensions of the van in, and has been a great sat-nav for us, whichever of course sat-nav you choose. So that's all job done. Anybody got any questions about that, then by all means drop them in the comments. I say again, I'm not a vehicle electrician, but so it's doable. If I can do it, then I'm sure it's worth giving it a go. And yeah, do ask if you've got any questions about it at all, but it's certainly a huge step forward in terms of the Xzent that was in here. Hope that's been a bit of use and a bit of an insight into how to perhaps do it yourself. No doubt in future episodes I'll update you on whether the radio's still working all right and the sat-nav's still working all right, but all seems, fingers crossed, all seems good at the moment. Well, that's a bit better, isn't it?
Good grief, it sounds brilliant.
What a difference. And the sat-nav records were in Tenby, so that's got to be a plus.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah.
And we can listen to, okay, I'm going to admit this, the Archers. I know we don't look old enough, I know, but we do listen to the Archers. We can listen to the Archers now without any rude crackling sounds interrupting us.
Why is it when you get, it's like the Archers has been in the background, my parents listened to it for decades. Why is it that suddenly you get to a certain age, and what is that age when actually you tune in and you start actually listening to the Archers? What's that about?
Well, probably not.
What is the age? I mean,
It probably doesn't appeal to everybody, but hey, we're addicted.
Soap on the road, soap opera on the road. Right, It has. It's been a huge improvement, and hope that's of use to some of you that were thinking of doing it. Give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? But yeah, a bit of a scrambled egg of wires, but it all is fairly self-explanatory, and you can just sort of work backwards, really. I guess probably the most complicated bit is trying to hide all the wiring and lever off various panels and bits and pieces to get the wiring hidden. But anyway, till the next time, guys, thanks ever so much for watching, as always. And we'll see you on the road again.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye now. Bye.